Hello, what up, on your movie madman, and I'm back. I don't know what point at the ground I'm going to do that. My back's there. So, today we're going to be starting our new subject, hopefully. Well, we will be starting our new subject today, depending on how well these little subjects go, will be depending on how many of these that I do. I have got quite a lot of these that I can do just because of the subject. Today we're talking about censored films versus uncut films. Censorship is something that I know quite a lot about, so I figured why don't I make some videos about these. So I'm going to be talking about the different sorts of censorship, like films that have got lost after they've been cut and stuff like that. I'll be bringing those up, like older films that were cut down in like the 80s and the 90s that are now uncut in the present day. I'll be talking about them. I'll be mentioning films that have been previously banned and then now they're released and okay. We'll be bringing them up as well as talking about films that are probably still banned in certain places just because those films go a little bit too far. So there's quite a lot of exciting subjects on the way, all under the same kind of subject. So that's what we're going to be digging into on Fridays. Obviously all of that I'm not going to be mentioning in just this video. Today I am going to do what I'm calling the suffering. So that's the subject for today, films that have suffered. I only got two films to talk about suffering wise today. You probably know what one of them is already because I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it in other videos, at least one video, but there's two in here. I have got a DVD to show you as well, so don't get angry because I'm getting one of them out. It's one of the rare ones that I have just because I wanted it uncut, which is why we're doing this. So firstly we have the Hunger Games. Now you might be able to see here the Hunger Games is a 15. That's true, the first Hunger Games is a 15. The uncut PG-13 version in America was rated 15 over here. The BBFC didn't want this film to be a 15 in the cinema, so they told the distributors to cut it down to a 12A, which they did. But this is why I refer to this one as the suffering, because this is the one where they cut it down, sent it back to the BBFC, and the BBFC were like, no, sorry, it's still too violent. So then they had to cut more down, and then they sent it back to the BBFC and they were like, no, sorry, it's still too violent. I'm pretty sure they got to a point where they had to digitally remove blood splashes in order to bring this properly down to a 12A. But you can see the uncut version as a 15, but you can't in the cinema, which was a bit rude. But you know they like to edit adult films for kids for some reason. Speaking of that, this brings me on to my second film that I plan to show you today, Die Hard 4, or Live Free and Die Hard, depending on where in the world you live. I'm pretty sure we just got Die Hard 4.0 over here, and I'm pretty sure it's called Live Free or Die Hard in the US, but I don't live in the US, but maybe someone American can confirm that for me, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's known as in the US. Now this film was shot for an R rating in America, and it was meant to be a 15 over here, and then for some reason in America they decided, you know what, if we just took out the swearing, this would be a PG-13 rated movie. So what did they do? They removed all the swearing and made it a PG-13 rated film. They then sent it to the UK, and the UK were like, you must be having a laugh, right? Just because you've taken swearing out doesn't mean that we're going to make it a 12A. This is still going to be a 15 because it's too violent. but the US don't really care about violence when it comes to movies, so the tone of the violence in a PG-13 movie is very different to the tone of the violence in a 12A. Don't get me started, we'll get onto that in another video. But this, yeah, so they cut out all the swearing, toned down a little bit of the violence, and the BBFC were like, that's great, we're still making it a 15 though. And they were just like, alright, okay, well, here you go then. So then for some reason the BBFC were like, alright, so we're just going to take this really, really censored 15, all the swearing was removed, most of the violence was removed. They still marked it as a 15, which probably should have just been a 12, but they still marked it as a 15 and released it into the cinema. And everyone turned around and said, what the hell was that? Why am I watching a Die Hard film with no swearing and no violence? That's not a Die Hard film, surely. That's James Bond, isn't it? Pretty much. So then we get to the physical release of this film, and do you know what they did? Do you know what they did? You'd be really surprised. They thought it'd be a really good idea, because everyone complained about how badly censored the film was in the cinema. The BBFC were like, do you know what would be a really good idea? We'll release that version to the public as well. Genius. So now fans are upset twice, because not only was it cut down in the cinema, but basically every single print that went out is the censored version as well. If you buy this on Blu-ray, you're only going to get the censored version. If you get this in 4K digitally or physically, you are only going to get the censored version. And there's nothing worse than seeing Bruce Willis say yippee-ki-yay motherfucker, and the motherfucker is censored with a gunshot. Good one. Why? Like, we know what he's saying, so why? It's a 15, for God's sake. You're allowed to say motherfucker in a 15. So yeah, so I've got this. This is the only version that you can get, the full uncut version of Die Hard 4.0. This is the only version, so this is why I own this on DVD. This is why I own this on DVD, because you can't get it on Blu-ray uncut, you can't get it in 4K uncut, but you can get it on the shitest looking disc possible uncut. So unfortunately I just had to settle for that. Quite why they decided to just put it on the DVD and not release it in the 4K or on Blu-ray, I don't know. But I don't work for the BBFC, so unfortunately I'm not allowed to make these decisions. I promise you, right, if you guys have seen Die Hard 4 but you've only seen the censored version and you've only seen it on Blu-ray or 4K or in the cinema, you can see it uncut. You just have to get this specific version, and it's unfortunately it's going to have to be on DVD. So I do apologise that this is the case, but it is out there. Alright, Die Hard 4.0 is actually a pretty good Die Hard film. You just have to watch the right version. Okay, so yeah, don't be a hater of the Die Hard 4. Just watch the uncut version, because the uncut version is so much better than the stupid censored version. Alright, thank you. Now you might be thinking, what was the point of that video? The point of that video was to draw attention to people that might not know that there's uncut versions of these films available. So if people have only seen censored versions of these films, then I'm here to tell you there's an uncensored version, an uncut version, and a better version available as well. So that's what these videos on Fridays are going to be about. There will be some there will be some which might be a little bit annoying, mainly because some of the ones I'll be talking about will be films that have been edited and then the uncut versions of those films have got lost. I don't mean the TV show, I mean they lost them in the archives or whatever, but who knows if that's true or not. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Look forward to Monday, because I've got a new film to show you Monday, and it's really exciting as well. But that's it from me for today. How did you How did you find that? Is Censored versus Uncut a good subject to go for, or do you guys think that this is going to be boring? Feel free to let me know. Put comments. Try not to be too harsh. All right. I get upset very easily. Anyway, I'm gonna go. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'm gonna fuck off. Okay. Goodbye.